Welcome for yet another session. My name is Nakakawa Ruth, and I'll be taking you through corporate governance. It is quite something that is new, but it is not very new to those that have approached different companies, different organizations, different entities. Name it, as you're going to see in this module. Why do we need to appreciate and understand corporate governance? What is the aim of corporate governance? First and foremost, the aim and purpose of this module is to impart sound conceptual, technical, analytical, and communication skills. What does that mean? It means that a person or as a graduate requires to direct and control corporate business entities in ways that meet the interests of all stakeholders in a free enterprise economy and an ever-changing business environment. That is what corporate governance is all about, as you're going to see. As we run through this chapter, there are quite a number of areas that we're going to look at, but we normally divide the content into parts. We have part one, and in part one, we're going to look at the definition, history, and concepts. What do we find in here? We're going to look at what is corporate governance, what is a company, what is a business, and the benefits of corporate governance. We're also going to look at the sources of governance, as you're going to see. We're going to look at the international aspects of corporate governance, as you're going to see later on in detail. We're going to look at the approaches to corporate governance. There are quite a number of approaches that different organizations adopt over time. We're also going to look at the core concepts of corporate governance. We are still in part one of our content. Then that is going to be that. And in part two, that is where the gist of corporate governance is. And we look at the governance issues of entities. What entails governance? Here, we look at the corporate governance parties. There are quite a number of parties who are involved in governing an entity. We're going to look at the directors and the various types of directors. We're going to look at the board of governors, what comprises of the board of governors. We're going to look at the various shareholders that come handy in running an organization. We're going to look at the stakeholders as very important parties in an organization. We're going to also look at we've looked at the shareholders, the stakeholders. We're going to look at part three. Remember, we had part one, which gives us the introduction. Part two has given us the governance issues. And then part three, we have the control issues of entities. They're also quite amazing. And here, this is when we look at the governance of risk. I think this is an area that Mr. Kisenyi is likely to handle. And if he doesn't, I'll come in and handle it as well. But I think according to the way we've divided the content, is going to handle the risk element. And then in part four, we have that element where we look at the corporate governance, information, and communication. As you see, I've given you quite a number of books that you can look out for, and there is a lot of material online that you can use so that you enrich yourself as far as governance is concerned. Part one, let us look at how does governance evolve? How does it come into play? Fine. Definitions, history, and concepts. What is governance, for starters? Because we have two words put together. We have corporate and we have governance. But usually we want to appreciate what is governance. If someone is to define, they would say that defining what is corporate governance must start by defining governance separately from corporate or from a company. The word governance comes from a Latin word called gubernare, which means to steer. What do we steer? What is there to steer? Anyhow, the ordinary meaning of governance is the manner of directing and controlling the actions and affairs of an entity. Let's take note of that. Actions and what is done in an organization and how it goes forward is what we would call governance. Also, reduced to basics, governance is the exercise of power and actions to achieve goals of an organization. A company or an organizational entity, or an entity per se, be it private or public or a statutory body, is a legal fiction. Let's take note of that, legal fiction. That means it is a person defined by as such by the law. Once formed, a company becomes a corporate citizen and enjoys independent existence from its owners. Persons who direct and govern the business of a company are called directors and are generally elected by its owners, who are called the shareholders for private and public companies, or the government if it is in line with parastatals. I mean, that is quite something large, but let us reduce it to something that can be understood by all. When we come to organizational entities, they include schools. Under schools, you can also put their universities. They include clubs. They include sporting bodies, state-owned enterprises, among others. These are quite large, entities that concern people from outside, people from inside, among others. And in such a way, if they are to be given direction, then there is a lot that has to be put into consideration. In a democratic country, a government is the system through which powers are exercised and shared by the legislature, executive, and judiciary, with the goal of improving the quality of life for all its citizens. Now, this is what I think you've all been yearning for. What is corporate governance? Remember, we've looked at the word governance. We've said that you cannot talk about corporate governance without understanding what the word governance means. And we said that governance is about exercising power. It's about looking at steering the direction of an organization, making sure that an organization is driven in such a way that is liked and desired by the owners. When we put them together, they form a bigger word, which is called corporate governance. Corporate governance refers to the way a corporation, a company is governed. It is the technique by which companies are directed and managed. Take note of that, the techniques by which companies are directed and managed. It means carrying the business as per the stakeholders' desires. It is actually conducted by the board of directors and the concerned committees for the company's stakeholders' benefits. It is all about balancing individual and society goals as well as economic and society goals. That is quite something. If you see you is the entity, the company, the business in question, Uganda Christian University, for example, and it is serving the students as the number one priority, as the customers. But however, we have the society around us, we have the government, we have the legal fiction, the legal element, we have, and for us to be the corporate citizens that were mentioned in the beginning, there must be balanced, good governance. Can I repeat for you? For us to serve our students well, fit in the society properly, and also be under the government that is in power, that means that we're going to observe the law. We have to have good governance in place. And how do we attain good governance? You're going to look at how we attain good governance by getting the right directors, getting the right persons to steer the organization, among others. Corporate governance is also defined as the interaction between various participants. Remember, an organization is made up of very many parts. It has the insiders and the outsiders. It is affected by the internal environment and the external environment. Remember, an organization is made of people, and these people come with different behaviors. However, it is made of the people inside and the people outside. So the interaction between the various participants in shaping the corporation's performance and the way it is proceeding towards. That is, the relationship between the owners and the managers in an organization must be healthy, and there should be no conflict between the two. The owners must see that the individual's actual performance is according to the standard performance. That is, these dimensions of corporate governance should not be overlooked. Corporate governance also deals with the manner the providers of finance guarantee themselves of getting a fair return on investment. Remember, corporate governance, corporations, as we are going to see, they are separated from the owners, and we said that they are legal fictions, that they are observed as corporate citizens. That is the organization, and because they are standalone, they have what we call the shareholders, the people, the investors, among others, that put in their capital to see that these corporations are run smoothly. And when it comes to corporate governance, it ensures that the people out there who inject their capital into the corporation get a fair return on their investment, because if they don't get, then they're likely to pull out of the company, and it is likely to see bad days. And that is why we say that corporate governance is very important to any organization. Corporate governance clearly distinguishes between the owners and the managers. The managers are the deciding authority in modern corporations. The functions, the tasks of the owners and managers should be clearly defined, rather harmonizing. Corporate governance also deals with determining ways to take effective strategic decisions. It gives ultimate authority and complete responsibility to the board of directors, and in today's market-oriented economy, the need for corporate governance arises. Also, efficiency as well as globalization are significant factors urging corporate governance. And here, corporate governance is essential to develop added value to the stakeholders. Full stop. As we continue, we say still that corporate governance ensures transparency, which comes out as strong and balanced economic development. This also ensures that the interests of all shareholders are safeguarded. Means that if an entity is well controlled, all the stakeholders' interests are going to be well represented and reflected. It also ensures that all the shareholders fully exercise their rights, and that the organization fully recognizes their rights. That is, corporate governance has a broad scope, and this includes both the social and institutional aspects. Corporate governance still encourages a trustworthy, moral as well as ethical environment to work from. As you're going to see, corporate governance has been defined by quite a number of people, and among others, we've been able to at least pull out the first ones, as we've seen. And as of today, I'm thinking, can we reflect on what has been talked about? It is quite amazing. It's quite a journey. It is quite something that if you actually try to look at it critically, you will understand that this is one of the areas that we need so much to appreciate and understand as accountants, and not only accountants, but even lawyers need the knowledge of corporate governance, every area, because it is one of those. We are likely to be shareholders in an organization. We are likely to be stakeholders in an organization. We are likely to be directors in an organization, and name it. And at all stages, we need the knowledge of corporate governance. Let us first reflect on this part as we move forward.